Welcome to the Joy Quota podcast. I'm Dylan Fole.
And I'm Gavin Malcolm.
Our guest tonight is Travis Sims, pro cliff diver, adventurer, really awesome dude.
This guy is all about doing what makes you happy and finding joy and making a living doing it. Definitely a lot to be learned and some really cool stories. Enjoy. I've tried teaching people like how to ride a bike before, and it was just like I stood on a bike and I figured it out. Like it was so natural. And it's so weird even to this day to try and teach someone like, you just, you ride it.
Yeah,
You're
just like, you go down.
It's like a cliff, you just fall off of it.
Yeah.
Like, you could land in any position, you'll be fine.
Yeah, especially from 8 feet. I'm like, okay, you could I swear you can do it. You could, I'm not allowed to push you, but I could push you and you would be fine. Even if you belly flopped, you would be fine. It wouldn't feel great maybe, but you'd be fine.
That's one of the things that we want with this channel, though, is to show people it doesn't have to be insane. Like for you, you're 130-foot cliffs and all this shit. Whereas for this person, they get the same adrenaline rush, if not more so, and the fear and conquering that fear for them on this 8-foot.
Yeah. And it's literally so many of those people who did that. They're like, that was the craziest moment of my life. I will never forget that moment. It changed my life. People literally would say that just it's conquering your fears, and it doesn't matter how high it is really, because it starts out low. Everyone's scared of, a certain height, you just have to build your comfortability with it, just
Absolutely.
Like on the bikes, I'm sure you don't drop down the first time on a mega ramp on your bike. If you do, you're going to crash, right?
Yeah.
And it's same thing with skiing, same thing with any of it. You don't go big on your first time, so it's cool that I got to spend so much time with people who are so different minded than I am, because it gave me some perspective on what normal people think. I'm just oh gosh, I need to level myself out a little bit maybe.
Totally.
But
that's definitely something we can all relate to.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, heck yeah, dude. I guess we'll just jump into it.
Yeah. I mean, we're in it.
Yeah.
So.
In it to win it.
Dude, so glad you could join us.
Yeah.
This was something we're super excited because you're one of you're the first person we aren't real close friends with. We've had one other, maybe two other people on that.
Well, awesome. Connor
we sort of knew.
He knew us and was kind of excited about the podcast in general. So when we asked him, it was oh, hell yeah. And so then, but he had mentioned your name, and I had been following you since at least, I remember you did the Colorado Cliff Cruise in 2017, so I was following you at least since then, just randomly, because you do awesome shit, why not? But so we're excited for our first, stranger. Essentially, non-friend.
Yeah, it's always fun.
Yeah, so Travis Sims, professional cliff diver.
That's me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised here in Denver, Lakewood, and you guys know Casa Bonita, of course.
Yeah.
When I got out of high school, I was my first job out of high school was a diver at Casa Bonita.
No way.
And I did some diving in high school and stuff, so that's kind of how I transitioned into that. And after that, after high school, I never even really thought that I was going to be diving anymore, especially competitively. But then that job kind of all of a sudden fell into my lap. And I was cost me a cliff diver. Heck yeah. Anyone who's from Colorado.
Beats a job.
Anyone not from Colorado thinks it's only a South Park joke.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't realize it's a real place.
It's a real place? Yes, it's real. But so that job, and I went there as a kid, just like anyone from Colorado. I went there as a kid every single birthday, anytime that I could.
Yeah.
And I'd just be mesmerized by the cliff divers, oh my God. And so when that finally happened, I was oh my gosh, yeah, Casa Bonita, let's do it, So I did that for a while. I ended up becoming a manager, kind of the entertainment department, did a little bit of that. But then I was going to Metro State at the time, or what do they call it now?
Whatever it
is now in Denver.
CU
Denver.
Something.
I was going there while I was working at Casa Bonita, decided to take a year off school. And then I decided to go to Grand Junction to Colorado Mesa University.
Sick.
I was doing some diving over there, but I only went there for a year. I just kind of realized that college wasn't for me at that point. And then pretty much after that, I started traveling. I got basically like this, I got recruited to do these high dive shows around the country. The first one I did was in Pennsylvania at a little Amish themed amusement park called Dutch Wonderland. Yeah, it was crazy. It was like this little amusement park in like the Amish capital of the United States. There's
Dude, it's probably like right next to Woodward then.
Yeah, it's like there's horse and buggy parking like at
at
the stores. There's like handicap, horse and buggy, and then all the rest of the parking. It's crazy. But yeah, so I did a dive show there. Basically what it is like a big tall radio tower that goes like 70 or 80 feet up, and then they have diving boards and then a couple other platforms. And that show is basically shaped like a castle, and there's like a theme to the show. And basically we would just jump off the boards, do some flips, and there's kind of like a show. It was like Casa Bonita, if it's like just like a little skit,
a diving version of medieval times.
Yeah, exactly. Basically,
but Casa Bonita is like 20 or 30 feet. How did you go? Yeah. Did you dive higher in school, or how did that transfer?
Some of the guys I met at Casa Bonita, they actually started taking me cliff diving because I had been jumping off cliffs. There's this spot in Morrison. It's like really small. It's not like a real cliff diving spot, but it was just jumping off cliffs into the river. And then when I was working at Casa Bonita, some of those guys took me out to like Green Mountain Reservoir and some of those other spots. And I was cliff diving out there with them. And that we got like, 40, maybe 50 feet. And so I had enough skill under my belt and enough springboard experience because they also had springboard stuff. So I got hired as a springboard diver. But then they were like, maybe by the end of it, you could do a high dive. And I was like, no, I want to like do it now,
Yeah.
So I did one within like the first month or so. Because I was just really stoked and just started practicing. Because it's a tower that, like, imagine like a radio tower where it's, 3 metal bars going up, like a triangle, and then it, kind of crosses like this all the way up, and you just climb that, and then there's different perches. So there's one at like 40 feet, 50 feet, 70 feet,
Okay, so you could really work
your way up. So you could work your way up, and it was a great place to train to do that.
Yeah.
And then after that, I just basically started doing shows like that, but ones that travel around the country. So we would perform at like fairs and events, like all sorts of different events. We would set up for like a week or two at a certain event or festival or something like that, and we would do those same type of high diving shows.
Yeah.
Did you like bring a pool with you then?
Yeah. So the company I worked for,
it's got to be a massive pool.
Yeah, it's crazy big. They're like these probably 5 feet wide by 10 feet tall, like iron, like steel plates, basically. Whoa. And they just kind of, like, they're just flat panels, basically. And you just have, like, 22 of them that go around, and they have, like, these things that you put a pin in, and that's what hooks it around. Then you hook, like, a liner over that, and it makes, like,
makes
a pool.
Your pool. Yeah.
And then, but, yeah, it's just, definitely a pain in the ass to set those up, because we did all that too, because honestly it could be nice to have someone else set it up, but at that point you're 80 feet up in the air. You want to be sure that nothing got messed up when it got set up. No one forgot to tighten a thing, so when you set it up yourself, you're ensuring like, okay, if something breaks, it was my fault because I set this thing up.
Yeah, but even landing in 10 feet is pretty shallow.
Oh yeah, it's shallow. You definitely have to train that part of it too, because when you hit, basically the trick is when you hit, like, you hit straight and then you bring your legs up.
Just sit down.
And then you basically scoop. So you use the length of the pool rather than the depth to stop you. So when you land, you kind of go like this instead of just like that.
Wow.
But it's a lot to think about when you're like that high up, and it's like sometimes it's a little windy up there. There's one of the shows, the one in Pennsylvania, there's like a bee nest.
Of course, yeah.
And so you're just like climbing up, you're like, please don't sting me. But yeah, it's fun. It's a nice job.
Dude, that's ridiculous. It's very similar to BMX. BMX, other than the 80 foot off the ground part, but like doing the shows.
Well, yeah, and you want to set it up yourself. You want to make sure it's safe, you know?
The difference is the box jump takes, maybe you can do it in 5 minutes if you rush it.
Yeah.
But a good setup was less than half an hour.
For sure. Like, you could
It's
make
basically
a skate
just
park.
putting the landing
Yeah.
and the lip on the little trailer.
Which is, I mean, I just love that no matter what you do, there's a way to get paid for doing what you love. Like,
People
no
don't get
one
that.
in
They
a
don't teach you
million
that in high
years-
school. That's the
Totally.
problem.
Yeah.
You could have given me $1,000 to come up with a way that you could get paid to do dive shows, and it never would have crossed my mind that that's
Right.
like a thing.
Yeah.
And yet it totally is. And I bet it's the coolest thing ever, and I'm so sad I haven't seen one.
No, and it's like it's just, you know, I'm sure there's stuff like this in the bike world where people don't even know it exists, but it's, I mean, there's shows all over the world. Like I could move to China or Dubai and get paid like, you know, $300 a show basically to just go there. And I mean, those are a lot more bigger commitments. So that's like maybe
Yeah, where
something
you're
I'll
like
do
a
down the road.
residency for like a year or
Right.
something someplace.
But yeah, I mean, it's crazy the amount of opportunities there are in any field. Like even in gymnasts, like you could be a gymnast and you could do, like they do shows just like they do dive shows where they do acrobatic stuff, and you know there's trapeze and there's, you know, there's so many things. And I think people definitely get brainwashed on the fact that it's like, okay, you have to go to college to know what you want to do. And it's like, I think it's like the opposite. You need to know what you want to do before you go to college, because otherwise, you know, you're just stuck in this perpetual system of being told what to do and what to want.
Absolutely. And like, I just want everyone to know that no matter what it is that you're into, if you get good at it, you can get paid for it. Like, it doesn't matter. It's so wild.
Yeah.
But I'm truly convinced of that fact. Like, if you're good at knitting, like,
Yeah.
you could absolutely make like a killing knitting somehow. I promise it's real. Like,
totally. Yeah, and that's like been my huge realization, is that like you really just need to follow what you love. Sometimes it'll put you on the ground, sometimes it'll kick your ass a little bit, but so will, you know, getting a normal job, 9 to 5, normal life. You know, like the happiest people I know are the ones that, you know, just do what they love and have fun every day. And that's, you know, that's what it's all about, really.
definitely.
Totally. I mean, I'm in that exact situation right now where I was doing something I didn't love and I was miserable. And now we have this and I love it and we're making the same amount of money. So we're going to stick to it.
We're making the same zero. Yeah.
It's okay.
But with a smile now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I was like always wanting to make cliff dive. I mean, it wasn't always cliff diving. I never would have expected I would be doing this. Like, you know, but it was just, I kind of got put in a situation where it was like do or die, you know, because I was working with that company where we were setting up those dive shows all around the country. And then he gave us this opportunity. He's like, okay, there's this water park in Arizona. He wants us to set up a training camp. So I want you and a couple other high divers that work for him to, you know, set up this training camp, and we'll, you know, advertise and get people to come out and pay money to do a week-long training camp to learn to be a high diver. Which I was like, okay, like maybe there's not that big of a market for people, and then especially if they're going to be paying like $500 to come out to this like kind of in the middle of the desert place. And so I was like, okay, but I mean, whatever. I want to move to Arizona. I want to be warm. So I was like, screw it. I just need an excuse. Sure, I'm there. And I didn't think much about it. So I was moving there with 2 of the other high divers. And I got there, and everything kind of ended up falling apart. Like, the guy with the water park ended up kind of bailing, and it just all fizzled out. And my boss was like originally saying that he was going to kind of pay for our rent there, or at least help, because that was going to be our income, is working for him. And he was also storing a lot of his gear at our house. So we were like, okay,
makes sense.
Yeah, pay a little bit, something, but we didn't end up getting any help at all. So I got put in this situation where I'm like, okay, I'm in Arizona, don't have a job, spent a lot of my money to get here, and I don't know what to do. Like, I don't want to just go and get like shitty gas station job or something.
I
Like
want to go work at Subway.
I don't
or
want to.
something.
Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to go work at a grocery store. Like especially out where I was. I was in a town called Marana. I don't know how people say it out there, but it was like in the middle of the desert. It was right by like the biggest cactus forest in the country. I
Oh, that's
think.
pretty cool.
So it's cool, but like way out there. Like
Yeah, I can
the
imagine.
closest thing, which was 10 minutes away, was like a Dollar General, and then beyond that, it was like 30 minutes to the closest anything.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yeah, it was out there.
What a weird place for a training camp too.
Well, no, and like, yeah, and it was like, yeah, exactly, and it was right by this. I thought water park in Arizona, and I was like, oh, it's gonna be great, and it was literally like you would see in a movie, like almost abandoned looking, and just
yeah, super
you're just
sketch.
like, oh man, this is. When they gave us the first tour of the place, I was like, I don't know if this is gonna happen.
So what did you guys end up doing?
So, I like the other two guys that moved out there. They were on, I think they were on, what is it called when you get money? Unemployment. Sorry.
Okay.
They were on unemployment. They just got
Yeah.
money for being unemployed. And I was just like sitting here like, okay, that's good for you guys, but I have no money, no job. So I just decided to, cliff diving was what I knew. And I had previously, like a year before I moved out there, about a year before I moved out there, I met the guys at Belong Designs here in Denver. I don't know if you guys know about them.
Mm-mm.
They just like a clothing company started
I've
here
seen
in
their
Denver.
store
Yeah.
in Rhino, yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay. Then I'm not going crazy because I thought
yeah.
I'd seen a sign that said that. And I was like, the odds that that's the same thing were zero.
yeah,
Okay.
so when I was still in Colorado, I met them and like got a relationship going. It was the first like real company I ever talked to about, doing sponsored work or just, like maybe you give me some free clothes and I'll give you guys some free content and, we'll work
Yeah.
together and help build each other up. And that was before. And so I thought about it and I was like, maybe there's more companies that would be willing to support me if I support them and vice versa. And so I just started cliff diving every day pretty much in Arizona and just getting a bunch of content for different brands and just hitting up anyone that would be willing to trade, money for content or even, whatever it may
Yeah, if
be.
you needed something.
Yeah,
you could-
and there was like a couple companies I linked up with. There was some app, and there's actually two apps. The two first ones I did were two different apps. They paid me for some. One of them was it's called Shutta app, Shutta, and it was just basically like you take a video on your phone.
I think I've heard
If
of
you
it.
want to take a screen grab from a video on your phone, if you do it on your phone and like press the screenshot button,
Yeah.
it takes away the quality. So if you have a high quality video and you screenshot it on your phone, it automatically takes the quality down.
Yeah.
So this app makes it so you can, take any frame of your video and, screenshot it, but it doesn't do the quality.
Oh, that's cool.
decrease. Yeah.
That's actually
So-
super cool.
Yeah, so I did some stuff for them, send them a bunch of content, like tried to promote them a bunch. They paid me, another app paid me. I ended up just started to make money off that. It was paying my rent, it was paying my groceries, it was paying everything. And
Damn,
then
that's
I was like,
really resourceful.
yeah, I was
That's
like,
cool.
and I thought about it. I was like, okay, what could I be doing to make money if I could be doing anything in the world to make money? I was like, well, I could just jump off cliffs all day.
Yeah.
Like that's what I would like to do. So why don't I just do that and maybe I can leverage a situation where that would help someone else out too at the same time.
That is that's the whole thing I want to tell. Like I spend a lot of time with like youth groups and like pouring into like kids, and that's like all I want to tell them. Because growing up, he's dying.
Went down the wrong pipe. Sorry.
You're good. That's like the biggest thing I want to tell people is like, for us, it was more second nature. I guess really all three of us, because it was more like action sports industry. People just like naturally think that way.
Yeah.
Because it's the only way that you can get paid in the industry is
Right.
realistically to get sponsored.
Yeah.
And so like growing up riding stunt shows and things like that, I was just like, I know for a fact what I do could technically make me money.
Right.
And then like watching other people do it and then talking to you and a couple other people where they're just like, like we talked to one guy who he was like, I happen to be a good artist, and I also happen to have no money, and I was in the Middle East, so all of a sudden now I got to eat, and I had like this cool spot where the people were like so psyched on my art that they were like selling it for me, and then I like started making money just because I had this skill and I was willing to trade it.
Well, it's a little different though. I mean, artist is a thing. BMX, we had X Games. We could look up to Dave Mira and all this. Does cliff diving have that?
That's the thing about it.
Yeah,
it's
that
like
was a genuinely original
so
thought.
I mean, there's Red Bull cliff diving. I have a lot of friends that do the Red Bull cliff diving. I even have talked to them before, and I've considered trying to go for the whole Red Bull cliff diver dream, and I have a lot of friends who are doing that, and it's awesome. It's really cool what they do, but at the same time, for me, my joy doesn't come from the competition of it. It comes from the exploration and the just like being outside, being in nature, and just really enjoying myself and taking it all in.
Yeah.
And the Red Bull cliff diving is awesome, like I said, but it's already at such a high level that if I was I would have to probably get a few more dives in to be able to get a good list to even really compete. And if I do compete, I would be like last place. It's like it's
the bar of entry is so high.
The bar of entry is so high, and it's also the other part about it that is what I like about what I do is that I'm always jumping off different cliff heights. There's rarely two cliffs that are the same exact height, like on the dot. It's like always a little different. The water's always different. And they'll go to different spots when they do the Red Bull thing. But it's generally some of the same ones, and they're all epic. Like, don't get me wrong. But, my whole thing about it is kind of like trying to find these new places that maybe no one's jumped before, or, just kind of pushing the limit of how high I can go, because a lot of, the Red Bull cliff diving height is right at 90 feet, which is huge.
I'm very uncomfortable talking about it.
That is 90 will break you for sure.
Dude.
You have to know what you're doing. Pretty much anything over like 50, But, I like kind of pushing the boundaries and seeing what else is possible. And the guy that I was working for, Dana Kunze, with the high diving shows, he is an incredible dude. He's basically he's like a 7 or 8 time world record holder for the highest dive ever done.
Whoa!
Wow.
And so and it was like 172 feet.
What?
Oh
yeah.
God.
I'll be honest. That's about 30 feet higher than I thought humanly possible.
Yeah.
That's
I
unreal.
think it's right up there near what is possible. But I think it could be possible to be done higher. But
Was that like into a waterfall or just straight flat water?
that was flat water. That was into SeaWorld, Florida, I believe, which is 50-degree salt water, which is salt water is more dense than normal water. So it was like dense, obviously when you're hitting it, you don't want more dense, you want less dense. Yeah. And it was cold, which I don't know if chemically speaking or
if that changes
the physiology of it or
minutely,
anything.
but that's crazy.
But and so that was, and he ripped it. He I think he might have like slightly injured his knee, like barely, but he walked out clean. And then they had like other people try to go higher. There was a guy who went like 176 and he got hurt. 178, that guy like broke his back, but he like landed totally wrong,
just something went wrong.
And then just like just a feet to feet, or
those guys were flips up to 178, I think. Some sort of flip,
That's so nuts.
Yeah, the guy that I worked for, he did a triple gainer off 172.
Why not? You're so high.
It's like, yeah.
Jeez.
But
you're basically base jumping at that point.
Oh yeah, I have friends that do lower base jumps than what I've jumped.
So crazy.
But the guy Dana that I worked for, he kind of paved the way for that. He was doing it since he was like 13 or 14. But there's a guy that did it with like Red Bull, where I think they might have considered it a world record, but it doesn't really count because of a few reasons. First of all, because the highest dive has to be something that's a rotation, so it can't just be a straight jump. You have to at least rotate a half of a flip, to
Okay,
make
that
it
makes
count,
sense, yeah.
you know. But you wouldn't want to dive headfirst from that high. Obviously, you'd want to land on your
Yeah.
feet. But the guy that did it from Red Bull just did a straight jump, and it was like 193,
Ah,
and he like broke his femur or hip or something, and
Jeez.
they injured his back. He wasn't able to get out on his own, which that's like should
That's
be
the rule.
That has always been the rule, but I think Guinness might have given it to him anyways.
yeah,
I
they're
don't-
just like, dude, I'm sorry that you did that and you're permanently broken.
Yeah,
Wow.
so we'll see. I think one day it could be broken.
Do you
it'd
think
be
200 is possible?
I don't know.
Another 7
It would have
feet.
to be the right place, I think.
I guess,
it
yeah.
definitely, there's like, you know, if you're jumping into a waterfall, into the white water of a waterfall, it's going to be the softest water that you can jump in, basically. Like if you've seen in Olympic diving,
Yeah.
like when they dive off like the 30-foot platforms, sometimes they'll turn on a switch under
Like
the
a
pool,
bubbler.
and they have a huge bubbler to make it not hurt as much if you smack. So if you land into a waterfall where there's something like that at the bottom, there's a few spots that I've been just, you know, having my eye on it. It's going to be a little while before I would ever
Yeah.
maybe attempt something like that. But, you know, it would definitely be possible more so into something like that. Into flat water, I don't think you could do that.
Yeah. Well, that's what's so cool, though, is we just discovered, like, you had a guy. Everyone that I know that's, like, in action sports had a guy that, like, somehow paved the way.
Yeah.
Like, we
Yeah.
knew Yellow with Yellow Designs, and, like,
Yeah.
all of a sudden we realized, like, oh, you can get paid to ride bikes. You can,
Yeah.
like, even if you're not, like, winning X Games, like,
Yeah.
you can literally get paid.
Yeah, exactly. Like for high diving, it's
Yeah.
the same thing. Like I would recruit my friends that just dove with me in high school. Like, dude, can you do a few dives off the springboard? You're fine. Come work this show with me. Like it'll be cool. Like, and it's like it's a little more sketchy than what I sometimes tell them about. I'm like, oh, it's
Yeah.
fine. Don't worry about it. And then they get on the diving board. There's no handles on it at all. They're 30 feet up above the ground.
Yeah, because they have to
But
walk out.
because
to it.
they're 10 feet above the water, you know, and
Yeah.
because you know there's those
Oh,
tanks
that's
of
right,
water.
yeah.
So like, if like it's really scary on those diving boards because the pool is just a little thing in front of you. Like if you would fall any direction to the right or left before you got towards the edge, like to the very end of the diving board, you're gonna have some problems.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but
Wow.
yeah. So it's doing those dive shows is crazy. Like I'll do them every once in a while. I might do one this summer. They'll let me know. They just call me and they're like, "Hey, do you want to go to New York for 2 weeks?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not?"
Yeah.
You know, because it's free travel, free hotel. I just get to fly out and go perform in a show a few times a day, and then the rest of the time just hang out in a new place I've never been. Some of them are not the best places. Like, you know,
Yeah, I feel
I
like
end up in, you know, you get the cool places, but then you also sometimes get the not so cool
Right,
places.
the county fair. And,
Yeah, like you get
Alabama.
good gigs and bad gigs. We had one in New York that was like, it was the second biggest fair in New York, and next to the state fair,
Okay.
like the New York State Fair. But I think they said it has more people, or I don't know. It was like bigger in certain ways than the New York State Fair, and there was like thousands of people in the audience every single show.
Whoa.
But then we do ones that, like the first one I did, I was like, oh, what did I get myself into? It was in North Dakota, the North Dakota State Fair, and I was like, oh, get me out of here. There's nothing good in North Dakota. I don't think.
Couple views probably, but other than that, isn't that where the
maybe.
Black Hills are?
Is it?
I think that's South Dakota.
Yeah,
right? With the
South
faces-
Dakota's cool.
With the faces.
Yeah, South
Yeah.
Dakota is awesome, but North Dakota, there's not a thing going on.
Come at us,
Yeah.
North Dakota.
Yeah, that's one.
You've
If
been
you're
called
trying
out.
to travel all 50 states, you skip that one.
Just drive through it.
Just
real
say that
fast,
you've been
like a
there.
Corner.
You didn't miss anything.
Yeah. So what brought you to Costa Rica?
So not this last February that just happened, but the February before that, I had some friends, my friend Robert Wall, Alex, and my buddy Briggsy. They're other kind of big cliff jumping guys, and they got invited down to this trip by the company Paddle 9 because they want to do some promotion for their tour company because, you know, they know that social media is like a huge, great way to promote yourself.
Yeah.
And so they invited some of the best cliff jumpers down to jump some of the best waterfalls and cliffs down in Costa Rica. So they only had enough money for those 3 guys to help them a little bit with their flights and stuff down there. But they're like, my friends invited me down. They're like, hey, you should come. It's gonna be sweet. And I was just like, I can't make it. It was too late a notice. I just, I wouldn't have been able to make it. So they went, had an awesome time, and I was super jealous. And I was talking to the owner of the company a bunch, and he was like, all right, well, it's cool. Don't worry. You'll go next year. We're going to do the same trip again next year. And so I was like, all right, count me in. I'm down. Just get me out there. And so then I think it was like last August comes around, and he hits me up and he's like, hey, like, we got an extra guide position opening up. So if you'd rather just come down for the whole season instead of just in February, then you can come down for the whole season, and then you'll already be there for the February trip. And I was like, yeah, totally. Like, because
I get out of winter?
Yeah. I was like, wait, I don't have to be cold? Like, yes, of course. So basically, it was just a waterfall guide, paddleboard guide job down in Costa Rica in Manuel Antonio. It's like the most beautiful place in Costa Rica. It was awesome. Like, super chill vibes. Everyone just, like, they have the whole Pura Vida saying there where it's just pure life, simple life.
Yeah.
And they say it to everyone. And, I almost thought it was like this tourist scam. Like, they would say it so much. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, but then living there, I see that they live that. Like, they live the simple life. They don't need all this extra stuff. Everyone goes to see the sunset every night. Everyone makes it a point to, like, be outside during, like, Christmas and New Year's. Most families pack up all their stuff. I'm talking like full-size grills, like backyard grills that most people here just like leave in their backyard for years. Those massive grills, they'll put in their truck and they'll take it out and they'll go to a beach, set up camp for like a week or two during Christmas and New Year's. And they spend all their time in the rivers or in the beaches just hanging out outside with their family. It's crazy.
Yes, dude.
Yeah. And people live on so little, and just so many people kind of, just live off of the land too. Like, we would take people to this tilapia farm by this really popular waterfall there, and it was like there's no electricity used whatsoever, like at all. It was just this farm to table tilapia farm, and they get the water from the river, all the fish, they keep them all in the same size, or they keep all the fish like with the same size fish, so that, like, because tilapia get a bad reputation for like bottom feeding or like being like, basically like poop eaters. But that only happens in like huge factory farm settings where there's 100 different types of fish, and huge fish, small fish. Of course, the smaller fish are gonna not get the food when they drop the food, because the big fish are going to go get it. Yeah. And so they're going to have to feed off the bottom. But this place, it had like separate pools, like all this crazy stuff, wood fire that you like call it in and like say like, oh, we have 10 people, we want this many fish. And then they would literally go down and catch it. There's no like refrigeration or anything needed for any of it. They just caught it and cooked it.
I need an 8-inch.
Yeah. So I had like a whole fish every day pretty much while I was in Costa Rica. Wow. Almost every day I was working, which was a lot.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so cool. But we don't have the luxury of having that here.
Well, right. Yeah, no, totally. It's different. It's definitely different scenario.
Well, but you can take the same principles, right? Of just like not needing so much extra. Yeah. Like, I'm fairly convinced that having nice things, I have no problem against it. Like, I want everyone to have nice things. But also, like, doing it well within your means and living below your means to where have whatever you can that's nice, but also, like, there's so much more freedom in having, like, a slightly used car that doesn't have a car payment instead of having something that's maybe a little newer that you're making massive payments on.
Yeah, and, like, the level of excess here just got so crazy and out of control that people just think it's normal. And, like... When I lived there, like in Capos and Manuel Antonio area, it's like these two little tiny towns right next to each other. And basically, when I was there, I noticed more than anything, like, just like there's no excess. They have exactly enough for what they need. Sometimes not enough because, like, there's like 1 or 2 electronic stores there. Yeah. Like that, your phone charger breaks, you go here or you go there. That's it. Here, if your phone charger breaks, where do you go?
Yeah.
Amazon.com.
Any of 12 gas stations.
Amazon, gas station, Best Buy, Walmart, like, and they're all within 10 minutes from you. You know, there it's like you go to the electronics store down the road. That's where you go.
Yeah.
And if they don't have it, maybe this other electronics store has it. But I never felt like I was ever in a situation where I was like, oh, like I need something and I can't find it. Like, they have everything you need, but it's like they don't have like all that extra shit. And you don't notice that some of that stuff is extra shit until you get back. And I'm like looking at my room with all my stuff, and I'm just like, oh my God, why do I have all this? I just lived out of like a suitcase and a backpack for 6 months, and now I come back and it's a room full of stuff, and I'm just like, oh, it's like chaos.
Yeah,
like,
I can imagine.
it's crazy.
Our friend just got back from Thailand, and she's going through like the same thing. Where she's like, she just called me the other day of like how overwhelmed she is being back in the States. Yeah. And she's like, this is insane. I spent a year over there, and now like I'll go to like the grocery store, and I'm just like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Like, there's so much chaos going on.
Yeah, I was shopping like farmers market only basically while I was there.
Yeah.
The grocery store argument is, I can't imagine why there needs to be 100 different kinds of pasta sauce or what. It's probably even more than that, honestly.
It's so crazy. I mean, I get that there's like a bunch of different companies trying to like, you know, small businesses trying to make their own pasta sauce and all these different things, but it's like, yeah, it's way out of control. When I got there, it's just, you know, you have, you know, like the cereal. Cereal is one thing where they have like maybe a shelf the size of like, let's say this wall. Like, yeah, if this like wall, maybe, I would say maybe even like half that. That's like their cereal.
Even that seems pretty big.
We here have a cereal aisle.
On both sides.
Entire, both sides filled like, like top to bottom cereals, which I love cereal. So I don't have a problem with that. Like, I love Captain Crunch and all that, but it is just crazy to see that. And they still have good cereals there. They still have Captain Crunch.
Yeah.
But they don't have like 6 rows of it.
I think that's really the key though, right? Is like, it's not that you have to live with less than what you need. It's you just have to kind of really reevaluate what it is you think you actually need versus like stuff that's fun to have, nice to have.
Yeah.
Like, I think
and traveling is a good way to do that because you are so limited with whether it's just a backpack or whatever.
Yeah, and you get to experience like other people's culture, right?
Yeah,
like you said, the Pure Vita like sounds pretty touristy and like cheesy, and then you got the opportunity to actually be there and live it, and all of a sudden you're like, no, that's actually a part of their life. Like you can tell. Yeah,
and like I would talk to tourists every day. Like the people that we would take on tours are from Canada or the United States. Pretty much that's it. There was like maybe a couple from like the UK or something, but aside from that, that's the only people that usually would want to go on our tours. So, and that's why they hired me to speak English there, you know. But yeah, it's just everyone who would visit there, they would ask me, they'd be like, okay, so this Pura Vida thing, it's just a hoax, right? Like they're just like, it's just a thing they say to tourists. And I was like, no, it's like, it's real. They say it, they mean it, and it means everything. It's just like in Hawaii, they have aloha, or is it? Yeah, aloha is like their, or is it mahalo?
That's mahalo.
Yeah, whatever those, like the Hawaiian thing where they have that, or is it aloha? Or no?
Aloha is hello and goodbye, yeah. I'm pretty sure it's mahalo.
Yeah, no, you're right, yeah. So, so it's just the same thing where it's just like, they say it for hello, goodbye, thank you, you're welcome, have a nice day, I'm having a nice day, like, what's up, everything. It's just, if you don't know what someone's saying, just say, Pura Vida, and then they'll be like,
everything's kosher, yeah.
Right on.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What were some of your favorite experiences when you were
in Costa Rica?
Yeah.
Well, that trip in February was crazy. We call it Costa Flica. Costa Flica is basically just we get as much as the same trip that I was originally interested in Costa Rica about. We just did it again, but with more people this year. So we had people from Canada, United States, all over come down. And all the best cliff jumpers came down, and we jumped all the best cliffs and waterfalls there. There's one called Mahia Blanca, and that one's like 100 plus feet, probably 100 to 105 feet, and it's seriously one of the most beautiful waterfalls in Costa Rica. And it's in this huge, like, because in Costa Rica, a lot of the waterfalls, the land around it is bought by someone, and they maintain it really, really well. And they charge, depending on what place it is and where it is, they'll charge you a little bit to get in, but it's very well maintained. And this one
sounds kind of worth it.
Yeah, oh, it totally is. And this one had like an animal sanctuary there, and we worked out a deal with them where we'll sign all these papers, we'll shout you guys out, we'll help promote your waterfall in this place so that more people can see it. And then there's 9 of us cliff jumpers, we all jumped it, and there's like a huge crowd there for it. They had this like megaphone out, and it was just insane. And then the news came, like the Costa Rican news, and it was just it was so much fun. And that whole trip, we just jumped all the coolest waterfalls there, which was just, epic. There's so many different types of, ecosystems and different, there's ocean, like super jungly places. There's super like barren, almost desert places there. And it's just, it's so much diversity. But then I think probably one of my favorite experiences just happened like a couple weeks ago. Soon before I moved back, like, maybe like a week and a half, 2 weeks before I moved back, my buddy Chase, he has like a huge YouTube channel called Adrenaline Addiction.
Yeah, I follow him too.
Yeah, a lot of people do. And he puts out some awesome videos like every week about just cliff diving, base jumping, extreme anything. He's crazy. He's awesome. But he came down to visit me for my birthday, April. So it was April 17th. So like a week and a half before I moved out. And he was like, just, let's go jump the best spots here. So we went to a spot that we took everyone to in February. It was a 70-foot waterfall called El Encanto. And when we were there in February, the flow was like pretty low. It wasn't much of a waterfall because it was getting into dry season, but there's still a little bit of, flow there. But I took Chase there, and I was like, dude, just so you know, like, it's really dry season right now. There's a chance that there could be no waterfall over the edge. There could be a chance that because of that, maybe there's not enough depth now. Yeah. And there's also a chance that maybe it's deep enough, but the water's really nasty because it's stagnant and it's been sitting there. And he's like, I don't care. I just want to go. I want to go. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So we went out there. We're going to meet with this Costa Rican dude that we met up with, or that like we made friends with. And we get there and we see these workers, these guys like at the bottom right of the waterfall, and they've got this little pipe, this PVC pipe going into the water, like the pool below, and then that pipe was connected to a little pump. And that pump was connected to another PVC pipe that was going 75 feet up, straight up to the top. And we got there, and our Costa Rican friend wasn't there yet. And we just get there, we're looking at him, we're like, what are these guys doing? Trying to make a waterfall or something? Just joking around. And our friend shows up, and we're like, who are these guys? What are they doing? And they're like, they're the owner of this land. I told them that you guys were coming to jump the waterfall, so they're trying to make a waterfall for you guys to jump.
No way.
Yeah. So literally,
shout out to Costa Rica for being so down.
This, the thing about it is, it's a 75 feet, a single piece of 75 foot PVC. I just don't even imagine how they picked that up, to get that up there, and how much time they spent to do that.
Yeah, how do you even...
In the size of a pump required to get the PVC.
This pump was it could fit on this table. 2 of them could fit on this table. It was not a big pump. It was just this little tiny thing, and we were just almost laughing at them. Before we knew what they were doing, we were come on, that's never gonna work, because we could see them trying to turn it on and trying to get it. And there was a guy looking down in the tube. So we were okay, they are trying to pump water up, but we kind of figured.
There has to be a different reason.
Well, yeah, and then we were like, okay, well, maybe they're trying to make a waterfall, but so for tourists, maybe the waterfall is about to open, maybe they're starting to let tourists in or something, or they're getting it ready so that if a tourist does show up, that there's water coming off the edge and it looks pretty or whatever, you know.
But no, it was for you.
Yeah, and they
It was
literally did it
only
all
for you.
for us, and must have spent like 6-8 hours before we got there at 11 or noon. So they had to be working on that for a long time before we got there, and then they finally got it once our Costa Rican friends got there. We hung out because once we found out they were doing it for us, we were like, I mean, you didn't really even have to do that. We would have jumped the cliff anyways, but they wanted to do it because they wanted, you know, it to look like there was water coming off the edge. So we waited for them to like set it up because we're like, okay, let's give them a minute. Maybe this could work. And sure enough, they turned the pump on once, and he was like shaking it around in the water, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, this thing's going straight up, right next to them, you know, right above them, and all of a sudden water just starts squirting out, squirting out of the top, just popping off like crazy. And everyone just starts cheering. We're like, oh, yeah, it actually worked. But in reality, like, they're on the, like, if we're looking at the waterfall, they're on the, like, right side of it. So they're not even, they're not, like, it's just coming out and just coming right back on them at that point. But just the fact that water traveled all the way up there, we were like, oh, my God, this is crazy. And so then, there, you know, so much water's coming down. And I thought that because of all the water coming down, it, like, turned off the pump because, you know, the pump's getting really wet now.
Yeah.
But I guess they turned it off and they like left, and our friend said, okay, they'll be back in an hour and then we'll jump. And we're like, okay. So the pump's not broken? Okay, whatever. Well, I'll just trust you, man. And so sure enough, an hour later, they come back with another piece, PVC pipe, and an elbow piece. So at the very top, they hooked an elbow piece to that one and hooked another pipe to that one so that it's going over the edge, like, so it's like going right next to the edge, spilling over the edge. And then they turned it on again. Sure enough, it worked, got all the water up there, and then it turned off. And we're like, oh no, like, and then we were like, all, you know, kind of bummed out because I ran up there because my buddy Chase was just going to go first, but then we kind of decided that we should wait. And I ran up there to jump. And right when I got up there, because they tested it while he was up there, and it started working, but it turned off, like I said. Then I ran up there because I was like, oh, if it's working, like, I want to go right now because it may never work again. And then I got up there, and right when I got up there with him, they finally turned it on, started flowing, and we're like, all right, it's time to jump now. Like, let's do it. So we both did like a tandem gainer off of it, and then we both walked back up 2 more times to jump again. And it was just the guys there, like the locals, the people who own the land, were so stoked. Like, there's this little kid just like sitting in awe. They said they brought like some snacks and some food and some drinks. They were just set
like
up.
a 90-pound grill.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. If we were there for another hour, they probably would have. But yeah, they had this, little, drink set up. They were offering it. They had like these plastic cups. They were pouring us drinks at the top of the waterfall. We were like, hell yeah. And
Dude.
we just like, put on a little show for them. And then we were like, we have to, like, what do you guys, like, what do you want? How much do you want? Like, we'll give you
I want
like
to
$40. Like, what do you want? $50. What do you want? And they're like, no. Like, they want no money. They want nothing, really. We're like, we'll buy you beer. Like, what? They're like, no, you don't need to do anything. We're like, come on, like, what can we do? And they were like, well, we just want people to see this waterfall. And, like, we just want, like, the reason we did this for you guys is we want you guys to be able to, like, share this. So, when you post on Instagram, make sure you tag where it is so people can come here and visit and find it, which is so opposite kind of to how I'm normally programmed here in the U.S. I never geotag locations because it just, sometimes leads to...
Yeah, you don't want to spoil a spot.
I don't want to spoil the spot. I don't want places getting trashed. I don't want, I don't want my followers, however many and whoever they may be, if, I just anyone's followers. Like,
yeah.
I don't trust, like, the general population to just go to a spot and leave it completely spotless,
Or not to, like, get in over their head and somehow things get shut down from
I'm
that.
sure it's technically illegal.
In certain spots, yeah, totally.
A lot of places because they don't want this liability and it's so lame versus that just sounds so cool. Like,
yeah, but in Costa Rica, it's the opposite mindset. They're like, come to our waterfall. Because, like, they have, they'll charge you a few bucks and like, maybe at the most like $5 or something to get into a waterfall that is well maintained. There's no trash. There's some waterfalls. There's one that's like $10, I think, called Nayaka, and that's like one of the most popular ones in Costa Rica. And they have guys that will come in and like scrub the like algae off. Like if it's getting too slippery on some of the rocks, they'll come and scrub
to like
it.
keep people safe.
Yeah, it's like there's all sorts.
I thought
of stuff
you meant like
that.
for pictures. Like
no.
No, that
but-
makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, but I mean, so they welcome people. They want more people there because a lot of people own land right near a waterfall, but you can't own the water itself. So if you went and you hiked, river hopped all the way up, that's fine. You could do that. You wouldn't have to pay technically. Same with beaches there. You can own the land around the beach,
But not
But
the actual beach.
you could swim there and no one can tell you to get off the sand because it's public,
Makes sense.
But yeah, so that was the cool thing about the whole culture there is they were a lot more accepting and just like, because for me it's like, I mean, I understand sometimes the whole liability thing, but it's like, why wouldn't you want someone to jump and do cool stuff? If they're professionals, they know what they're doing, like, why not? It's never a problem with any other sport, really. Skateboarding sometimes, they'll get kicked out of some spots. But I don't know many other sports. Like skiing's pretty accepted everywhere, and like so many skiing deaths a year. So why cliff jumping? Why is everyone so against it? It's because the only things you hear about it are the things on the news where it's like, oh, drunk teen goes cliff jumping, dies. It's like, okay, well, the teen was drunk, first of all. Probably didn't know what he or she was doing. And, was probably pressured to do it. Like, so if you
There's
can
a lot of
eliminate
other
some of those
things.
factors, then it could be safe, just like anything. But
Dude, that's amazing. That's like the coolest. Like, I love that you guys got to like do a little show and like.
yeah, they loved it.
I think that's such a cool experience. That's something I wish more people had a chance to do, is just like perform whatever it is they're good at. Like, I remember doing stunt shows, and it's my favorite thing. Like, even if there's only a couple
you did like
people.
the BMX ones?
Yeah, so I still do from time to time.
What company do you do it with?
Yellow Design Stunt Team here
okay.
in Denver.
That's cool. Yeah, I saw this one, like, because, you probably work some of the same type of events sometimes.
Yeah.
And so there's one called like the Superhero Stunt Team or something. They were doing some fairs in Arizona, I think.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I was
they're
shocked to
everywhere,
find
I'm
out
sure.
how many BMX teams there are.
Yeah, there's the multiple
That
dive
do
show things
yeah.
too. It's like,
But
it's
that's
crazy.
something that like I wish more people saw opportunity for, because it's all out there. But there's a way to like show off whatever it is that you're good at, whether it's art, whether it's singing, whether it's anything.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's such a cool experience to be able to go do whatever it is that you're into, and even if you're just reasonably good at it, like, you don't have to be incredible.
yeah,
It's such a rush to be able to like perform that in front of a crowd, and even if there's just like one person in the crowd that really truly connects with it, and they're just like into it and feeling it, it doesn't matter if no one else is even paying attention. They're all just
if you
like
just
tweeting or
impact
something.
that one person,
It's the coolest thing when someone comes up afterwards and they're like, that was so cool, and like they're genuinely fired up about it, and you can tell like even if they never go touch a BMX bike, like you had a real moment and connection with someone. It's like the coolest thing. So getting to do that like private, intimate show for
awesome.
them is like the dream.
Yeah, I was only going to jump once, but then I was like, okay, you guys literally built me a waterfall. I'll jump as many times as I feel comfortable.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's wild.
Yeah, but I just, the amount that the people in Costa Rica are willing to just go out of their way to help you and help whatever's good. Like, you'll see people just stop their car, go pick up a piece of trash, get back in their car and keep driving.
What?
And just like
Costa Rica.
bus drivers
coming
sometimes.
for
I
you.
saw a bus driver do that one time.
Yes.
Bus full of people stopped the bus, went and grabbed a piece of trash.
And I bet no one on the bus even complained.
Yeah, no, of course, no. I mean, there's no complaining there. That's the other thing. Like, no one really, if you're complaining, it's like, okay, you get to the bottom of it real quick. And
like, there's a
then
much
it's over.
larger problem.
Yeah, and like, it's like the people there just, and this is, like from my experience. In San Jose, it might be different. In certain parts of Costa Rica, it may be different. But where I was at, super surf town, super chill vibes, a lot of tourists there. But yeah, just, I was amazed at the amount people just kind of brush things off. It's all good, you know. Tico time is a real thing. Like Costa Ricans are called ticos or ticas for the ladies. But yeah, Tico time is definitely a real thing where, you know, everything's anywhere from 15 to an hour late.
Yes.
I definitely got stuck on that while I was there. It was bad. I'd be like, yeah, man, I'll be there in 15 minutes. And then like an hour and a half later, I'm like, all right, I'm on my way. Like,
a friend from Thailand has had the same problem.
Yeah, I bet.
Where I forget what they, I think it's Mipe and Rye is the
Mipe
saying
and
there,
Rye.
which is like similar as like, such is life, you know, kind of a Hakuna Matata of Thailand. And she's like, yeah, I would show up on time because I'm used to like an American job where like 5 minutes early is still late.
Yeah, right.
And I'd show up and everyone's like, oh yeah, we're just going to do that in like an hour.
Yeah. You're just like, wait, what?
Mipe and Rye, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. I know that speaking of more cliff jumping, it's cool you got started in Colorado because I feel like there's a couple spots that I know of, but like, what do you do during the winter?
Well, that's the thing is like the last few years now that like since I've been getting really serious into it, I've been trying to go like
Get out of Dodge.
either like go somewhere warm or like last year for the whole year I lived in Tahoe, which was cold, but I have a group of friends. We all go out and do a bunch of, you know, cliff jumping. It's, you know, kind of small crew, like anywhere, you know, kind of around like 20, 30 of us, like, you know, up to 100, you know, there's all around the country. But I have a really good group of friends that live in California, NorCal area. And that's kind of how I got my whole start with them. And we've been friends for years now, jumping all sorts of different cliffs. And, you know, when you put yourself in situations like that with other people, you get so close. Like, you know, a lot of them
you're all growing and progressing together.
Yeah, and a lot of them, like, you're on the edge of a big-ass cliff, and you're, you know, contemplating, you know, if you are ready to do this, and if, you know, or if you're going to get knocked out if you land. Like, you know, it's serious stuff. So when you have those situations with people like that, you get really close. And so I lived out there with them, and every as much as we can, usually at least twice a month, we'll go somewhere cool that's, you know, a little warmer, has a little better weather there. Or sometimes we'll make a snowy cliff jumping excursion where we just wetsuit up and just hope for the best, you know.
Yes.
But, you know, living in Colorado, like you said, like starting here was good because there's no cold water anymore. Everyone's like, oh, be careful, it's cold. No, it's not cold.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not cold. I'm from Colorado.
I jumped into water that was ice 5 minutes ago.
No, literally, there's a place I went in Silverton, and my main first mentor in cliff diving here in Colorado, he, like I told you, like a lot of my friends from Casa Bonita would take me cliff diving, but this guy wasn't working there at the time, but he used to. His name's John Conyers. He's super rad dude, and he's been cliff diving in Colorado. He's like, it's insane. Like he would go to these high alpine lakes, sometimes just by himself. So, you know, just maybe him and a friend, like 9-mile, 10-mile hikes up. You know, probably even there's ones that are more like 16 miles up to these alpine lakes.
Yeah, like past tree line.
Yeah, way past tree line. Yeah, and it's like, you know, jumping off where there's snow everywhere. And, you know, and they were back in the day, they were just rocking the Speedos and just like snowy cliff diving in Speedos. Like,
that's so badass.
So raw. And I was always like
man.
Whenever I went with them, I would be like, oh man, I've been thinking about like wearing a wetsuit because then it won't be so cold. They're like, man up. Don't be a pussy. You know, like I'm just like, oh no, okay, I guess. And so, you know, it's just, you know, you learn how to, it's just breathing. That's what I learned when you're in cold water, just breathe differently.
Yeah.
And like I haven't really studied the Wim Hof method or anything like that. I've heard it works and it's cool and everything. I just try to breathe twice as fast as I normally would.
Yeah,
and
you definitely
that's probably similar method or whatever is the Wim Hof method, or I don't really
Yeah,
know.
We're looking
I've
at
heard
you like we know what
No,
it is. Oh,
I know
Do you
what it
guys
is.
have you guys heard of that? It's
I've
like
heard of
the
it,
guy
and I
who-
looked it up once, and
It's like the
Didn't
Wim
do
Hof
it,
is the
yeah.
dude who like holds every record for like longest sitting in an ice bath or walking barefoot in
Interesting.
Antarctica, like in boxers or something. Like, you know.
What an interesting life he's chosen to live.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
no, but that guy's like mad successful now. He has written books. He does seminars
Oh, I'm
that
sure.
and he has people now that learn from him and teach seminars for him. Like it's that big.
Yeah,
Like it's
wow.
crazy. Like.
I'll see Facebook ads every once in
Yeah.
a while for like
Oh, I'm gonna look this
the
guy
Wim
up.
Hof method and
Yeah.
whatnot. Yeah.
See, I learned that like cold water, you had to breathe more because I was rafting with my dad, and it was a high season,
Yeah.
and there was literally no rapids because it was so high.
Wow.
It was above all the rocks, and so the guide's like,
Jeez.
"Yeah, we're just gonna be like floating for like 10 minutes. It's
Oh my
not really gonna
gosh.
be anything." And then my dad's like, "You want to jump in the water?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And
Yeah.
he's like, "Okay," and he just chucks me overboard. And then obviously, like, I'm immediately out of breath because
Yeah,
it'll knock
'cause-
the wind out of you if you're not ready for it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like sitting there gasping for it. He's like, "Breathe more," or
Yeah,
breathe
more,
Just
yeah.
like that was how I figured it out. It's
Yeah,
like,
no, that's basically what it is. Like, cause yeah, it'll take your initial breath away, but then people freak out because their
that's
breath
the
got
problem.
taken
They
away.
freak out.
But once it's away, it's like your breath is technically kind of taken away when you like take a breath.
yeah,
Like when you go like that, your breath is kind of taken away. So if you just kind of like put your rhythm back to your breathing, like you just have to like remind yourself to keep breathing,
yeah,
and then I just try to do it twice as fast. I'm just like
yeah,
when I'm like swimming, you know.
dude.
But yeah, it's definitely, it takes a lot of getting used to, but now I can jump in like any water. This place in Silverton, we measured, it was like literally like he had a thing that measured it, and it was below freezing. Literally
Yeah.
below freezing in this alpine lake. The only thing that was keeping it from freezing was constant high wind.
I was gonna say, yeah.
So
if the water's
that
moving, it can't freeze.
was a cold one. That was the coldest one ever. That was bad. That was like 12,600 feet up or something like that.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That is so rad, man. That is like the craziest. I feel like that's such a unique skill because being able to push yourself past fear
Mm-hmm.
is probably something that you are uniquely gifted at this point. Like you've
Yeah.
built up a very specific skill of like,
Yeah.
this is intimidating, but I'm going to trust my skill set.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that everyone could probably get better at.
Yeah, and I think it definitely applies to anything though. Like, you know, it's fear is like everyone's like, oh, you're like, it's crazy that you're not afraid of it, and it's like I'm afraid. Like I get scared. You know, I'm jumping off huge stuff that could probably kill me. You know,
right,
if I
you
land
know
wrong.
the consequences.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
the
very
thing.
aware. But fear is like a muscle, just like any other muscle in your body. You know, you work it out, it gets stronger, it gets more resilient. So you scare yourself more and you get less scared. Or not even that you get less scared, but you are able to push. You know, it's like, it's same as lifting weights. Like,
yeah, you're able to just
you
deal
know,
with it more.
like at some point, you know, you may not be able to lift, you know, the 50-pound weight, right? But you lift enough of the 45-pound weights, then you can, you know, you can move up.
fear is a
Like-
big, heavy barbell. Like one, you might not be able to pick it up, but you start working with things that kind of scare you,
Right.
and then all of a sudden you build a tolerance and you build like, because that's something that I think we routinely try and do in our channel is like scare ourselves enough to where
Yeah.
like going and like talking to your boss about like the raise that you really
Yeah.
think that you deserve becomes
just
less
as
scary
scary,
because
yeah.
you just went and did something that was like genuinely dangerous.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
you can build up that muscle, like you said.
Yeah, and it's like the same way, like, you know, yeah, you lift that 50-pound weight, and then later on down the road, you're lifting 100 pounds. You go back to lift that 50-pound weight. It's still 50 pounds. It's not a feather. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It didn't take away the weight that it ever was. It's always been 50 pounds. So a 50-foot cliff is still scary. You know, it's like it could still, like
Yeah.
I've seen people break their backs and, horrible stuff from
Yeah.
50 feet only, you know? And then
You've just gotten stronger.
but now I can jump 100 feet too, but it's like insane with that. And I've jumped above 100 feet, but it doesn't make 100 feet any less scary, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's a really good way of putting it. Is like it doesn't get any lighter
Yeah.
just because you've gotten stronger.
Yeah, exactly. It's still dangerous no matter how comfortable I am with it. That's like, I mean, it's less dangerous the more comfortable I am. Technically, like it's all mental,
Yeah.
you know. A lot of it's just mental. It's muscle memory. If you've done it once off 70 feet, if you go to do that same exact motion off 75, there's a good chance you'll still be okay, even if you do that same exact motion. Just maybe slow it down a little, and then same goes for all the way up.
Yeah.
But
Heck
That's
yeah.
the thing that I've never understood is like,
Gauging it.
right, gauging the speed.
I've
See,
never
that's what's
even
great about-
attempted, I don't think.
that's
more
why it's
than,
great
like, a
about cliff
15
diving,
foot
though.
cliff.
It's like it's not, speed doesn't have anything to do with it, and that's why I've
Or I guess timing, maybe.
right. Yeah, no time. It's all just timing and body control. But like, I have friends that base jump, and they've been, you know, I have so many people like, oh, you should base jump and skydive, and I'm like, yeah, like I will, eventually, I'm sure. But I don't like trusting equipment, you know. When it's cliff diving, I like it because it's
Okay.
me. I'm barefoot. I just got board shorts on. There's nothing that can go wrong that's not my fault. If I'm base jumping and I pull my thing and the line gets twisted or it just doesn't pull or something, you know, something
100 different
weird
things.
happens, that I died because of the failure of the parachute.
But if you're
But
the one
for
that
me-
packed it, then
Right. Oh, yeah. I mean that. But you get what I mean. Like,
Yeah,
if,
it's
you know,
like when Dan Osman free climbed like a bunch of stuff,
yeah.
and then when he died, it was the one time he wore a harness and the harness broke.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like-
same type shit. It's
Yeah.
like I don't want, like, if I get hurt and, you know, get messed up doing something, I want it to be like my fault. Like, I don't want to sit back afterwards and be like, oh well, if only my board shorts were
If they were blue, I wouldn't
blue.
have gone.
Yeah. Like, no. It's like it's all on me, and that like
Yeah.
gives you a whole different like appreciation for it too, because you can't rely on anything to save you. You just rely on yourself, and like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's absolutely real, man.
Totally.
So speaking of Costa Rica, you do a lot of cool different things. Like you went and were a guide for a while. I know that you
Yeah.
put on an event here
Yeah.
as well that's
Yeah.
gotten pretty big. I mean, it sounds really awesome.
Yeah, so I put it together the first time 2 years ago. There's the third annual this year.
Okay.
It's called the Cliff Cruise. I started it in Colorado here, and it's basically really the main idea at first was just the fact that, like, I was like, oh my gosh, I know all these amazing cliff divers, cliff jumpers, and through that I've met all these amazing photographers and videographers, and like none of them have really been out here to Colorado, to my home state. And there's so many amazing, you know, cliff diving spots and hot springs and, you know, just cool views and waterfalls and everything for people to see. And so I was like, why, you know, I got to get all my friends out here. So originally I just wanted to get everyone out for an event. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, you know, we have all these amazing cliff jumpers here. I have this perfect cliff that we're going to first. Maybe we'll hold a competition.
Yeah.
You know, we'll get some judges. I know some dive coaches. I know some, you know, pro skiers, snowboarder kind of people. Like, why not? Let's just have a little competition, you know, a little friendly competition. We'll get some brands to, like, give us some, you know, some board shorts, some hats, some, you know, a gift card for their company.
Yeah,
or,
some swag, whatever.
yeah, some beer, whatever it is. And we'll put together, like, some prize packages. Won't be that hard, you know. And so I just started, you know, it became, you know, it started just this, you know, trip with all my friends. But then I was like, this could be so much more, you know. We could really, you know, we could eventually, you know, have music here and like get all this different stuff involved. So at first I was just like, okay, let's get these people here. Let's, you know, have a little competition. Maybe we'll hold a little cleanup event where we can, like, you know, we have 100 people here. 100 people showed up. Let's clean up all this trash. Let's clean up any of the trash that we see. And then it just, you know, kind of exploded from there, because now we have, you know, 15 different photographers and videographers there at the same event. We have, like, you know, 30 different cliff divers, and then all this content just goes everywhere, and it just, you know, kind of exploded. And so I was like, I have to do it again. Everyone was like, that was the, like, I had so many friends, and so, like, people from 13 states, different states came out to the first one.
Wow.
And for everyone, like, people drove from Vermont,
Whoa.
Damn.
all the way out here for it. And then from California and like all parts of all parts of the country. And so I was like, holy crap, if this many people are down to do this, and this is only the first time I've done it, imagine how much crazier it could be next year. And I thought about it, and I was like, okay, I don't know if I would want to do it in Colorado again. We kind of hit all the spots, but California has tons of sweet spots, cool waterfalls, and all that sort of stuff. Let's try it there. And so I knew some places in California already. All my friends, that big group of friends I have is already in California. Let's make it happen. So last year I did it in California, and we started working with the first year we worked with like 14er Brewing. There's like Belong Designs. We had I think I don't know if Vulcan was in yet. We had a couple different kind of smaller scale brands. It was just wasn't even trying to
Kinda
really make money
grassroots.
or do anything like that. I just wanted to get some free stuff for people, some free beers, so that people could enjoy it and have kind of more of an incentive to come. But then the next year, the California year, we got Vulcan involved. We got High Brew Coffee. We got Sawyer products that do those like water filter things. We got like all these different companies, and then they started paying too. Like I made some pretty decent money off of the event, just doing sponsorship stuff and working
because it was
hard.
a ton of work for you.
Yeah,
right?
and
it's
I
not
mean,
like you're making free money.
Right, no, and it definitely worked for it, for sure. It's a lot of work organizing 100 people to travel around a state for an entire week. It's because it's the competition, then we usually do a cleanup day, and then for the rest of the time we go to the best cliffs.
There's so many
jump.
logistics, I'm sure.
Yeah, and just traveling with 100 people, carpooling, or I mean, like in a convoy of cars, you can imagine at some point people get lost. Everyone wants to stop and take a picture here, and then we're all stopping to take a picture here. Let's hang out for a little while, and then so it's hard. It definitely it's hard work, but it's work that I love to do. And then, but this year we're doing one in Washington. Washington's gonna be sweet. It's like has some of the most waterfalls of any state in the U.S. It's insane. And so basically same thing. We'll do like a competition the first day, and then we'll travel around a bit. We'll do a cleanup event near Seattle. There's like 100-foot jump that we're gonna do at some point during there. It's just so much fun. It's getting bigger and bigger, and I'm just trying to, kind of involve more people, more just more like excitement, more things to offer. Eventually I want to get I think there'll be some music there this year, like kind of some some smaller scale stuff, but eventually it'd be cool to make it a festival of some sort,
like that
slightly
day one
or
is
just
a
that first
massive
weekend
thing.
is like a festival, and then people that want to stick around. I don't know. I have a lot of ideas I'm working on with it, but I definitely see it expanding every year.
So is it open to people?
That was gonna be my next question.
So basically what it is, anyone can go. Not anyone can compete, but anyone can be eligible to be considered to compete. Anyone can basically what I do is for the people who are competing, they have to send in a little video kind of showcasing what they're gonna do. It's a 65-foot cliff this year, and then there's another one that's lower. We usually do a higher height and a lower height so that we can have two different styles of jumping kind of.
Like two different classes almost.
Yeah. So if all goes according to plan, we will be doing that again. So the people send in, I pretty much say that, send me in what tricks that you would want to do. It's 4 tricks, 4 different tricks that you have to do. So, send me videos of you being able to do that. I don't want you coming here and not knowing how to do it and be like, oh, I'll learn it, I'll be fine. No, you send me videos of you doing that same thing off of a similar height, then there's an entry fee for the contestants, and then but I mean anyone can be considered. That's the one thing about Red Bull is it's very good. It's very high class. Competition's amazing, but it's it definitely leaves less room for people to get into it, and that's where I think the pull of what we're doing, why this is getting so popular, what we're doing is it's freestyle. It's not a certain type of form. You can have different types of forms. You can be a male or female and compete in the same thing, same different heights as whatever you want, So I think it gives a little bit more diversity and a little bit more opportunities to make it different. And yeah, I think, it's growing every year. So it's just a matter of time before it kind of blows up. And I have some friends who are actually talking to Red Bull, and there could be a point where we collaborate on it and make it just another facet of their thing.
Yeah, like a stop
and,
of their...
Yeah, so it's all up in the air. But I just, I enjoy doing it. It's making me money, so I might as well. I might start doing like a couple workshop things where I take some people out for a weekend, teach them techniques and all that, more of a learning thing. Because I think a lot of people on Instagram and, I see people who literally have no, background of anything, but they have a lot of followers on Instagram. So, come to this retreat with me. We're going to Bali, and I'll teach you how to social media. Yeah. And they literally have no background of any sort, of anything. It's just, maybe some chick or some dude or, maybe some butt pictures involved.
Yeah.
That got them there, and... Yeah, and so I'm like, okay, well, if they can do it and they have no experience, have no teaching experience, I could do it because I actually was a dive coach back in the day, and I know what I'm doing, and I know how to teach people to do it safely. So
I'd love to learn how to, I don't want to probably go more than, 45, 50 feet probably ever.
So Gavin is the one, we go to St. Mary's, and that's what, 30-ish,
yeah, it's
something
30,
like that.
40.
I think at this point I'm fairly comfortable, but that first time was rough. Getting me off that thing.
He was the one that was up there for a good 5 to 10 minutes I got this.
Yeah.
I got this.
Yeah.
Because you got it, dude. I got this. And he finally did it, but he is one that is terrified of heights, but then when he can overcome it.
It's weird, It's only...
It's pretty rad.
It's only in that instance. I don't mind, heights of really... I'll climb stuff, no problem. I used to climb cell phone towers. I've climbed to 700 feet.
Jeez,
on a cell tower, and I'll jump my bike. I'll do all kinds of stuff. But there's something so visceral about there are some consequences to that, and I feel so outside of my.
St. Mary's can be a little shallow too. That one scares me a little bit too, because certain times of the year it's you really do have to jump out pretty far to clear the shallow zone.
Yeah. It's mostly just I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's where I think just a small nudge in the right direction of this is some techniques. These are where I think that could really be valuable.
Yeah.
For sure.
No, totally. And a lot of people have that same way, but they don't. It's good to sometimes sit there for a minute and think about it and be really process it. It's definitely not good to be there too long because then it gets worse and worse. But I'm a lot of the big cliffs I've jumped, pretty much all the big cliffs I've jumped, I've been to once, maybe twice, 3, 4 times before jumping it.
Yeah. And
just standing up there and thinking about it. A lot of people think I just find a random cliff and I'm oh yeah, looks good, let's go. No, all the I've done, every most, I'd say pretty much mostly everything, all but a couple jumps that I've done on over 100 feet. I've been to at least one time before to really think about it, and I bailed and I came back and did it because you have to know when is the right time. That's the biggest problem with people in cliff diving and cliff jumping is there's sometimes peer pressure or they're whatever it may be, but then they just do it without knowing what they're doing, and that's where problems happen. People go outside of their comfort zone. They're oh, or another thing is Green Mountain Reservoir is a good example. I jumped it last year. It's good. I know how to do it. But okay, water levels change. It's not always especially places like Green Mountain Reservoir, a lot of reservoirs and stuff. In the summer, in the middle of August, the highest cliff there is 45 feet. Right now, that same cliff is over 100.
Whoa.
That is how much the water changes.
Yeah. That's nuts.
So you could be going on a cliff a little drunk maybe, or this is what happens when people
Yeah.
They're oh yeah, I jumped this cliff
it seems big, but I've
2
done
months
it before.
ago even it changes
weekly. Probably.
Yeah, my buddy went there and he was oh there's this 80 footer there, and I went 3 days later and it was 60 feet.
Wow.
The water level, like, and that place is more extreme of water level change, like compared to other places, but it does happen, you know, like there are a lot of places like that where water will go up and down a lot. And if you're not aware and you're not measuring things, you're not depth checking.
How do you depth check? That's
just
actually
swim.
So
out.
you'll like
Just
eye
go
up a
down
cliff
there.
and then you'll
Go
see
down there
like
and
this is
swim it
probably
out.
where I'd be landing, try and find the
Swim
bottom.
it out, yeah. Get some goggles on, go down there, go as far as you can down there, go in every direction. Sometimes we'll, you know, depending on if it's really cold, sometimes we'll hop in a little raft or something and just use a long stick or something. You know, we need at least 10 feet usually for any jump. So we'll, you know, kind of poke down, or usually we just swim it out. That's the best way. Because then you can see it and look and like, okay,
there's specifically
it's
a
just
rock
sand
here.
at the bottom. So even if it's 12 feet, if I did touch the bottom, it's not the end of the world. Or, oh, there's a boulder right here, but everything else is super, super deep, you know?
Yeah.
Like, my friend just jumped this one in Oregon. I was kind of bummed to miss it, but it's called Abaquah Falls in Oregon. It's like, if you've seen pictures of waterfalls in Oregon, like pretty much any of them, you've probably seen this one. It's like super majestic looking. And we, like my friends and I, became some of the first people to ever jump off of it because, you know, there are definitely some hazards there. There is a rock that's like, you know, 3-4 feet under the water in one spot. There's a big boulder in one spot. Every other spot's fine. If you know how to not land on that one spot, you're good. But you just have to, you know that it's right there and jump a different direction. It's not hard. It's not a boulder the size of this room. It's like a boulder maybe that could fit barely under this, desk. But still, that's big enough. If you hit that, you're dead, you know?
Yeah.
And it's a 100-foot waterfall. So, like...
That's wild.
Yeah. But, I mean, yeah, it's cool going to all the different places. Each one is different. There could be a 50-footer that's way scarier than a 100-footer that I've jumped just because of what's around. And that's why it's all so exciting for me. And I think the Red Bull cliff diving, like I was saying, it's so cool. But for me, I think there would maybe get to a point where I'd, kind of just be still looking for more. And that's why I'm doing that now. I'm trying to find everything that's out there now. Maybe if they want to work together and I could, maybe one day I'll end up doing a competition with them, but it's not like what I'm pushing for. It's not like what I'm dreaming about every night. It's like, I'm on my own kind of path and I'm in between the whole work because I still have kind of the form of like the Red Bull cliff diver and kind of Olympic form.
Like a more traditional diver.
Yeah, more traditional diving form, whereas a lot of my freestyle cliff jumping friends and all the friends I travel jumping waterfalls with, they have freestyle. They have like, a lot of them are skiers and snowboarders, so they like tweak and do different grabs and all that sort of stuff, and it looks way different than the way I jump. You can always tell the difference, but it's cool because every different style is like really cool. I think in my mind, even if you do a front flip, half twist, and you add a grab, it can be just as cool or cooler than if you do it like a perfect form. Like
absolutely perfect.
Yeah,
and
that can look awesome. That can look super cool, but so can like doing a little mute grab or, just doing a little squirrel grab on a gainer. Like there's certain things, and that like would not be allowed in Red Bull. They do not allow, it's diving form only. If you don't do a diving form, you're getting zeros. And it's all that competition aspect. And I think competitions are cool in the sake of holding an event. But as far as myself, I think it's cool more so the expression of it than the competition of it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. But
that's awesome, dude. I'm so psyched to hear what you're doing with the Cliff Cruise because
it sounds fun. I'd like to go.
Yeah, it's August 23rd through the 30th in Washington. We're starting down south in Washington at the competition's going to be at Upper Lewis River Falls, which is just like gorgeous. There's just moss everywhere. The guys are going to be jumping off this like literal waterfall edge. Like there's water coming over the edge and they're standing right there where the water's coming off.
Oh, that's
and
sick.
Jumping. Yeah. It's really cool. That's the other reason why I like it above Red Bull cliff diving is they'll maybe do one event that's off of an actual cliff face. But that's what I love about it is doing, they always set up platforms, but I like the natural element of it and being able to literally stand where there's water coming off the edge of a waterfall and just like jumping off it. There's no better feeling for me. But
Yeah, it sounds so fun. Like I said, from the beginning, the Colorado one, it's like, damn, I want to do that. So
yeah, you guys are invited, and anyone that wants to go, definitely. It's for me. It's more of like I'm trying to organize it in a way where it like doesn't explode too crazy with people, but also at the same time it still grows, you know. So like I don't put massive flyers. I don't put massive flyers out or like, you know, blast it to everyone. But I mean, I do, but it's more of a, if you want to come, you can, but ask so that I can put you on the private event page type thing.
Yeah.
Because I don't want it to just, because I've organized like little just weekend events sometimes here in Colorado. And then all of a sudden it was like a public event. I just invited some friends. And then all of a sudden, like, there's 100 people, 200 people, like, oh, this looks fun, let's go. And I'm like, I don't know about that. But like for the Cliff Cruise, we usually have at least 100 people there. So I'm expecting that. But I don't want it to get so out of control to where I can't make it
manage everything.
Yeah.
And I don't want people showing up either that are not about what I'm about. You know, if there are people that show up and don't know that I'm about cleaning up the environment and that I don't stand for people leaving their trash or anything.
Yeah, like it should look just as great after you leave.
And so I almost feel accountable. Like if I am holding this event and people show up and they leave trash without me knowing somehow or whatever, you know, like we always clean up the spots, but things can happen. I may leave a tiny bit earlier than the entire rest of the people. So, you know, and then if we have this whole event, everyone leaves, there's trash left behind, then someone sees, oh, well, these guys with this event left this trash. It's like, no, I'm not okay with that. That's why I like to keep it small still in a way, because it's also hiking. It's, you know, you traveling, road tripping around a state. You know, you don't want 500 people doing that whole thing. But usually the most people show up just for the first 3 days, like the event portion where they can watch the competition, be, you know, around all that. But yeah, so I mean, it's tough trying to organize something that you want to grow, but you don't want to grow out of control.
Yeah, just grow at a sustainable pace.
Yeah, that's
with the right people. Like that's the key. Is just the
exactly.
right people.
Yeah,
but it sounds really fun.
It sounds awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about just finding the things that you love doing and putting them all together. For me, this Cliff Cruise thing made so much more sense than I could ever realize, and I didn't even realize that, like, if I could put together all my favorite things in one thing, it would be basically the Cliff Cruise. What it is. It's like, what do I like to do? I like to jump off stuff. I like to explore places. I like to hang out with my friends. I like to party. I like to have my friends party with me, and I like to camp, and I like to road trip, and I like making money. So if I can do all these things, what situation could I think of in my head? And it's exactly that, you know? And it's not making me a lot of money. I'm not rich at all. Like I don't have that much money. But you know. But
the joy quota is full. And that's damn right.
Yeah.
I mean,
damn right.
That's the important thing.
That's how, at least I feel. I'm sure I'm speaking for Dylan as well. Like, as soon as we had the idea for the joy quota, and like everything we're doing with our channel and this podcast and everything we're just trying to like get out into the ether.
Yeah.
It's everything that we want to do. Like you said, it's just if I could put everything I'd like to be doing into one thing. Yeah. And then sure enough, now we're doing it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's so important. I think if everyone just went down, took a piece of paper, and you write, let's say, the 5 things that you love the most, the things that make you, you know, the most happy, like whether it's like a hobby or like, you know, people or like people in your life that are important. It's like you take those 5 things that are most important to your happiness and then just brainstorm, like, even a weird, unique way, like that maybe might not make sense at first. Because that was the thing for me. I was like, if I could just like organize a party and cliff dive and travel and get paid. That's what I want to do. But then I was like, okay, that doesn't make sense. But then I thought about it more, and I was like, okay, wait. Maybe if the party was a cliff jumping event, and the cliff jumping event made me money through sponsors, and I made videos because I love making videos. That's another thing. I like, creating things to share with people, whether it's videos, photos, like whatever.
Just whatever content you can.
So yeah, it ended up making so much more sense than I ever thought. And I think if people just, maybe the people at home or people listening to this just went home and just, write down 5 things that you love the most or that make you the most happy, like 5 things that make you wake up and be like, all right, we're doing this, then you put them all together and then just try to come up with the weirdest way that you can make money with those 5 things. And maybe you'll come up with something that no one else has. And I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Seems to be working for you. So
yeah,
it's
barely
possible.
enough to be here and be talking about it. And yeah, it's definitely, just like anyone building like an entrepreneur or anyone building a dream, you guys know it doesn't, you're doing the thing, but you're not quite where you want to be. But you have so much to already show for. You have things that, like, you guys got this amazing setup. This is like, this is incredible to already be this far in it. So you have a lot to show for it. Same with me. I have a lot of stuff under my belt. I have a lot of experience, but I have so far to go to where I want to be. But that's,
I think that's a big part of it is like, by definition, if you've written down the 5 things that are important to you and that fill your joy quota the most, and literally like these things all just pour life into you and that gets you so excited and pumped up about where your life is going.
Yeah.
Even if you don't make money for a while or even ever, it would still be massively worth it.
Yeah.
I think that's the part that's like so easy to look past, because in Costa Rica, like, I doubt anyone would have a problem with that concept. They're like, no, that's just what makes me happy, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Versus
and even if
here we get so caught up in like, oh, but like, how do I monetize this right now? How do I immediately figure out a way to where this is making me all my money? It's like, did you not just remember that all of those things are the most important things in your life? Like, enjoy the fact that even if you don't make money right away, you're doing
enjoying,
what you love. So even if you're struggling or like you're not necessarily filling the bank account up, it's like you've already fulfilled yourself. Like, you're already living your life's purpose.
Yeah, and that's what I realized. Like, I realized it like almost every day in Costa Rica, especially with the people we would take on tour. There was this one guy, it stuck out to me like none other. It was like a week before I left too. And this guy, we were at this bar, me and one of my friends, and this guy comes up, recognizes us, and he's like, yo, you guys were my tour guides the other day. Oh my God, let me buy you guys a shot. And we're like, okay, cool. Like, right on. This guy's cool. And because, I mean, we saw a lot of people, so we didn't necessarily recognize him. But we're like, we take a lot of people on tours, but I'm sure we took
glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, awesome. And he was like so stoked on the tour. He loved everything about it. And he was like, let me buy you guys a shot. You got any friends here? I'll buy them shots. Like, this guy was like, just throwing his money around. And he was like just offering to buy anyone a shot. And it was like, who wants a shot? Yeah, get that guy a shot. Whatever, And we start talking to this guy, start drinking with this guy a little bit. And then we get later in the night and he's like, man, he like starts to get real with us. He's like, dude, you guys are so lucky to do what you do. And by this point, he had spent so much money.
Yeah.
So we're like, dude, like, I don't know. You seem to be doing okay. You got a lot of money. Like, he's like, I hate my life, dude. I hate my life so much. I dread it every single day. This is going to be the best week of my year, and this is what I'm going to be thinking about the entire year until I go back. And this is what you guys do every day. And I was like, damn, you're right. Like, yeah, I'm not buying everybody shots, but I'm here every day. I'm able to be here every day for months. And he's like, dude, like, if I could go and do it all over again, I would just go travel and go, like, do something like what you guys are doing, being tour guides or doing whatever. and we're like, okay, well, it's nice. It's not. There are downsides.
Yeah, grass is
you
always
don't
greener.
you don't
Yeah.
yeah. It's like the money thing is for sure. Like you don't get paid as much in Costa Rica. Like I would walk home with like, usually it was usually at least $30. I think was like $35 was like the main pay, I think, and then if you get tips on top of that,
Yeah.
it's usually $40 was like an average tip day. So
Yeah.
that was good. $80 in a day, that's decent. Sometimes you don't get tipped. Sometimes it's a very
Yeah.
low tip. So then, walking home with a full day of work with that much money, it's like a little discouraging. But then you also think, okay, the price of living here is cheaper and I don't need as much here. Groceries are cheaper. So yeah, you just factor it all in. Then like another 40-year-old lady came to me and like it was 2 weeks before I left, and she was like she was like away from her family and stuff. She's like, don't tell my family this, but I just wish I would have done what you guys are doing when I was younger, and I just wish that I would have enjoyed my life and traveled more and do all that. And it was another lady who's like super successful, rich family. They have everything they could ever want, but they're she's not happy because they spend their whole year waiting to get to Costa Rica for 1 week, whereas you could live under different circumstances and live in Costa Rica full time. It's just all about how you set your standards of living and stuff.
One more importantly, I mean that's kind of what inspired Dylan and I to start this. Is like, don't wait for that 1 week a year in Costa Rica. Like, wherever that lady is, I promise you, she can go find some fear, push her boundaries, and like experience the same levels of joy in Costa Rica, or that she experienced there at home.
Yeah.
And like, there was an SNL clip I saw recently of Adam Sandler like pretending to be a tour guide in Italy, and like, it's like a big joke is every couple seconds in the video they're like, and warning, if you are miserable at home, you are going to be miserable here.
Yeah.
I cannot change who you are as a person.
That's so
I
true.
can just put you in Italy.
Yeah.
Like, like if you would like to be a happier person, like work on that. Maybe do therapy, but like coming here is not the solution. And that's kind of what we're trying to do here is like, hopefully help people like that where they go see that maybe life has more to offer and challenge them to go find those peak moments no matter where they're at. Yeah. Because
people always say they want, like, oh, I want to go travel. I want to do this. It's like, do you though? Are you traveling?
Your choices aren't saying that.
You could be traveling. Do you want to? Because like the truth is in the action. Like if you're not traveling, you don't really want to travel that much.
Right.
If you're
It's
traveling,
not
you
that
make
expensive
you make
or
the time
hard.
for it. It's like I saw this one like meme or something that was on the internet. It's like, we like if you want to travel more, maybe just try making sandwiches. Mm-hmm. Just like you cut back on one part of your life, you'd be surprised how much more abundance you have in other parts of your life. Like, I don't buy like new electronics every time they come out. I don't have a new car. I don't have I don't buy new shoes all the time. I don't buy new clothes all the time. But and I eat pretty, like I don't go out that much to eat, but I travel, at least a couple of weeks out of the month, every month on average, I'm always going somewhere, and everyone's like, oh, must be nice to be able to travel all the time and have the money for that. I'm like, I barely have the money for it. I scrape by in my other parts of my life so that I can travel because that is what makes me happy. If what makes you happy is eating food, then cut your travel budget, spend more on McDonald's, and you'll be good. But if you want to if you actually want to travel more, then you could. I guarantee there's something that you could cut out of your life that could give you more opportunities or time or energy to do traveling or whatever it is you do want.
Yeah, and
if
just
eating McDonald's makes you happy, I think there's
more problems under.
I mean, we can say at least Shake Shack. At least Shake Shack might make you happy. I don't know.
Yeah. But that's a good point. I mean, it goes back to making that list of like the 5 things that are really truly important to you, that really truly fill your joy quota, and like gets you pumped up on life, and
Yeah.
just start making choices that only get you closer to those 5 things.
Yeah.
Even if you can't, like, overnight choose to go do all of those things, you can at least start changing the direction you're headed to be pointed towards those things, whether it's friends and family, whether it's food, whether it's travel, whether it's maybe you're just really into, like, having an old car that you get to restore, but you never actually took the time to start saving for it, or even start looking for one, or like it takes a lot of little tiny steps, but it all really starts with that first step of making a list of what's really important to you, and then building the plan around that, instead of what I think a lot of us fall ass backwards into is all of a sudden we're on a plan, we're on a path, and then we look for how can we make the best out of what path we're on, instead of, no, this is what's important to me, how can I make a path that gets me there?
There's just a feeling of comfortability that everyone, or not everyone, wants. I think it's more of like, not maybe brainwashed, but more of like a just everyone feels the need to think that they just need to get as comfortable as they can where they're at. And that's good for some people. If you just start a family, get comfortable, get your house, get settled, you know. But sometimes that's more detrimental. It's more dangerous to be too settled, too comfortable. Like, you know, people just are like, oh, yeah, it's kind of fine now. Like, my job kind of sucks, but I'm kind of making enough money. But if you have something that you've been, like, waiting to do and you've been, like, putting off, and you're just, like, this dream in your mind, like, the time isn't even now. The time's like yesterday. You're already late. Everyone's if you've had a dream at all and you haven't acted on it immediately, you're late. Like, it's yesterday that you needed to start doing it. And so, and that's like, you know, I've, you know, moved from where I'm at a couple times. I move like almost every year to a different place, and I think that keeps me on my toes. It keeps me young and flexible with where I'm at and what I can do. And I think everyone should move away from where they're comfortable at least once in their life. You know, there's too many people.
We encourage that for sure.
Like, I encourage anyone to move to a brand new state, even if you don't know anyone there, or a brand new country. I'd never been to Costa Rica before I moved there. I didn't speak Spanish before I went there. I knew hola, gracias, you know, the very tequila. Yeah, like the bare minimum. I learned a decent amount while I was there. I'm not like conversationally fluent or anything, but I learned a lot. But it's like, it is possible. It's like it's all with how uncomfortable you're willing to be, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But
totally.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Well, we always end by asking the same question.
Yeah.
What fills your, or when you think of the word joy, what comes to mind? And like, there's no pressure on this. This is just for you. Like, it doesn't have to be a good story or anything. Like, literally just take a moment and just like, what comes to mind when you think of joy?
When I think of joy, the first thing, probably nature. You know, nature, just outside, being outdoors, waterfalls make me happy, flowing water, and just like jumping, flipping, flying. Yeah. You know, like air time, feeling gravity. That would be the most. And also, like, it does make me very, very happy when I see that, like, something that I've done has positively impacted, like, someone else. Like, I'll get messages sometimes where people are like, you know, there's a movie. I definitely encourage everyone to watch it. It's called Flow State on YouTube, and it's Nick Coulter. He's an incredible videographer. Made this full-length documentary about cliff jumping, cliff diving, like into the mind of a freestyle cliff jumper. It's incredible documentary, released on YouTube for free like a little while ago, so it's definitely worth a watch. But you know, that definitely dives into, like, you know, so much different stuff about the mental side of things. And I've gotten messages from people who are like, you know, that changed my life. You know, I was depressed and I just watched that movie, and now, like, I want to start cliff jumping. Like, I want to start doing this. I want to start, you know, exploring outdoors more, and now I'm happy. I've been going outside every day for a month, and I'm just like, that type inspiring,
Yeah.
makes me happy.
That's huge. I think I'm sure there's like many people that are like clinically depressed and they can't do it, but for a lot of people that claim to be depressed or feel depressed, it's really just lack of getting up and doing something.
Yeah, it's like I think a lot of what people consider depression is just lack of inspiration. It's like, yeah,
and
like
we've all felt that.
Yeah,
for sure.
no,
Like
everyone's had it. I still go through that, and I do crazy stuff sometimes, and it's like I still get bored sometimes. I still get stagnant or feel like, oh, where am I going? What am I doing with life? Everyone feels that way, but it's like sometimes you just need to move, travel, switch things up, and it puts you in a new element. People get so comfortable in their element that, they get bored of it and they get depressed because they're bored of their life. If you're bored of your life, you're obviously going to be depressed. That's like, you can't be bored of your life and be happy. And so like you have to do things that don't bore you. If you're working a job and it's boring, you're literally killing yourself. And like worse than if you're actually physically hurting, like killing yourself. It's like mentally killing yourself. So, you have to like step out of that. And because even like once you work a job, like some people have never worked a job that they really have fun at or really like. And once you do, you realize the importance of money isn't as great,
Totally.
Yeah, it's fulfillment first.
Yeah.
And then the rest usually falls in line.
Yeah, but when you have money and you have a job, you're like, oh, but what can I do without it? I couldn't make less money than this, or I couldn't have less than this. It's like, but what if you enjoyed what you did? What if your job was traveling? What if your job was sewing? Or what if your job was doing whatever it is that you'd love to do? Then, well, if I got paid to do that, then, I wouldn't have to work 40 hours a week to fund the act of doing that,
Yeah.
Like people love skiing. People wish they could ski all the time. What if you quit your job and just started skiing all the time? Maybe you could get sponsored. Maybe you could start a podcast. Maybe you could start something, like
a tour.
Yeah,
maybe you could go be a ski patrol person.
Yeah, go
like,
learn with the best, and maybe
you
you could teach other people,
Or eat shit really bad and make your own Jerry of the Day page.
Exactly. Yeah, you could go viral just from that and just ride the rest of your life off of
Yeah, dude.
a viral video, maybe. I don't know.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, dude.
Thank
This
you
has
guys.
been awesome. You are such a cool guy, and
You too. You guys too.
just so glad you're able to come by and share some of your awesome stories.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
some of your message.
Travis Sims on Instagram. Anything else? Your Cliff Cruise, if you want to do it.
Yeah,
reach out
just
to him
hit
and
me up.
apply.
Yeah, reach out to me. It's like I said, it's one of those things that I want people. I want as many people to be there, but I want it to be the right people. I want to be people who support the planet, support the movement of what we're doing. But I accept anyone there. So if you're interested in the event, just hit me up, and I'll definitely send the invite your way. And it was awesome being on the show with you guys. You guys are great. This is definitely gonna take off. Anything that involves positivity and spreading happiness is gonna work.
We appreciate that.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Heck yeah.
Definitely cool.
Sweet.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.